To put Ubuntu in context, I need to start at the beginning. In the 1970s, Bell Labs created an operating system called Unix. Unix was revolutionary. It allowed multiple users to share computing resources that were very expensive at the time. But unfortunately for students, researchers, and home users, the licensing on Unix was too restrictive and expensive for them to tinker with and install on their own systems. In 1991, a student named Linus Torvalds created an operating system that worked like Unix, called Linux. Linux is free and open source, which means that it's released to the world without cost and nearly without limitation as to what you can do with it, under the GPL or GNU General Public License. The Linux kernel is open source, which means that the source code which makes it up is also available for anyone to look at and modify. The open availability of the Linux kernel and its associated tools led to the creation of many different kinds or distributions of Linux. A few major distributions, or distros, serve as the great-grandparents of most of the distributions we see today. Among them are Debian, Slackware, and Red Hat. These are still distributions that are in active use today, and due to their popularity, there are many variations or derivations of them. Due to this, there are hundreds of different distributions of Linux for very specific purposes, but only a handful of them have gained really widespread adoption. A distribution is the name we give to a particular set of tools and decisions that are made about the software and configuration around the Linux kernel. In this course, we're going to take a look at one distribution called Ubuntu. Ubuntu is a very popular offshoot of the Debian Linux distribution, distributed by a company called Canonical. The word Ubuntu means humanness, and Ubuntu Linux is designed to be user-friendly. Canonical, the company behind Ubuntu, releases a new version every 6 months, in April and October. In April of 2018, Canonical launched version 18.04 named Bionic Beaver. This release is a special one. Canonical will provide support for it for 5 years. That's what's known as long-term support, or LTS. Every 4th release is an LTS release, so the previous one was 14.04, and before that it was 12.04. Between those releases, there are other releases to introduce new technologies. These are great for developers and enthusiasts to explore, but it's a good idea to keep an LTS release on your primary Linux computer. Earlier, I mentioned the name Bionic Beaver. That's the code name for version 18.04. The number comes from the year and month, 2018, April, month 4. The previous release, Artful Aardvark, was 17.10, and the following release, Cosmic Cuttlefish, will be 18.10. The releases of Ubuntu are named with an adjective and an animal. Previous releases have been known as Yakety Yak, Zesty Zappus, and Artful Aardvark. In the community, these names are often shortened to just the first word, so you'll see references to Zesty, Artful, and now Bionic among some of the earlier names. Ubuntu has been around for a while, since 2004 in fact, and we've already been around the alphabet once in terms of naming. My first version of Ubuntu was 6.06, which was called Dapper Drake, and that was when you could get a free CD in the mail to install it. That version was released a little bit late, in June instead of April. Getting started with that version of Ubuntu was an educational experience, and things have only gotten better since. There are desktop and server editions of Ubuntu. The desktop edition is what we'll be using in this course, and it provides a graphical user interface with icons and windows. The server edition doesn't come with a desktop environment, and it relies on users interacting with it from the command line. Ubuntu is designed to be user-friendly, but sometimes a little bit of nerdy stuff happens. We'll get into that a little bit later. I should mention, there are also some other versions of Ubuntu, including Keylin, which is designed for users who speak and read Chinese. And there are versions for IoT, or Internet of Things applications, like robots and digital signage. There's one for use in containers, and one called Core, which is designed both for IoT and container usage. Those are more specialized than what we'll focus on here. So let's get started with Ubuntu Desktop.